Alyssa Siegel is a counselor and a sex and relationships therapist who helped write the book Your Brain on Sex: How Smarter Sex Can Change Your Life. I spoke with Alyssa about the impact dating apps are having on modern relationships. So, Alyssa, as a therapist, you interact with a lot of couples and individuals. How have dating apps changed dating and relationships?
Oh my goodness, I think it's changed. They have changed them dramatically. First of all, people are meeting more and more often through the use of technology, through online forums and dating apps. They're progressing their relationships, or they're learning more about themselves and what they're interested in, and kind of what's available to them out there. So dating apps have wildly widened the pool, so to speak, of viable candidates. Whereas before dating apps were commonplace, we were relying on generally things like work or school, or going out into the world in restaurants, bars, bookstores, and whatnot, and kind of taking our chances and hoping that potentially there might be other people there that were around our age or also looking for the same thing. Now we have this sort of curated avenue by which we can have a wide variety of people that we can see at any time of day, no matter where we're at or what we're doing or how we're feeling at any given moment. So it's hugely broadened the pool.
One of the critiques, as you know, of online dating is that it removes the organic nature of the process. In your experience, has dating app culture impacted people's ability to romantically connect on a human level as opposed to one online?
I would say yes, but I also would say that that is a symptom of what's going on in our culture in general right now. As we have moved more into social media as a way to connect with new people and maintain friendships and relationships with pre-existing people that we know, that is another sort of aspect that has come along with that. So yeah, I mean, I think are becoming much more of a immediate gratification and consumer culture when it comes to finding potential mates or lovers or partners or dates or even friends. The use of apps, especially ones that have the sort of endless swipe or scroll feature, has allowed people to feel like there is kind of an endless supply of people out there that they can meet. And so we've become accustomed or sort of desensitized in a way that makes us feel like we're no longer kind of carefully looking at each person that might show up on our feed. We're kind of just getting that hit of immediate gratification or reinforcement, or that thrill or that rush of moving endlessly through countless faces and countless people. So it's really become something that feels less personal, more fun, more light, and more superficial for some people. On the other hand, there are certainly some people out there that are using apps and are using technology because they genuinely want a sincere connection. They're really wanting to find a partner or a soulmate. And so it's really hard to tell now because of the way most of these apps are set up. It's really hard to tell who is sincere, both in how they're presenting themselves, what they're representing, and in terms of what they're looking for.
So many studies have shown that millennials are getting married later and having less sex than past generations. Are dating apps a big factor in that cultural shift?
I would say that it's part of it, for sure. I think that in general, younger generations are we're still culturally really attached to the idea of love, and we're still really attached to the idea of marriage by and large. But we don't have the same, it's not necessarily as linear as it used to be. I think in the past, for younger generations, there was kind of an elevator or escalator style of relationship movement in which there were these developmental milestones that were expected to be met. So you meet someone, you get to know them, then you move in together, then maybe you get married, then maybe you buy a house together, then you have a child together. And nowadays, I think with younger generations, they're not necessarily seeing marriage as an achievement or a goal that needs to be reached, at least not reached in the first few decades of their life. I think younger generations are much more interested now in self-exploration and in other exploration, in learning more about what they like and learning more about what feels good for them in a relationship. And because there's so many viable candidates, they feel like they have that option, that opportunity to really explore and learn and grow, which, that's one thing that I happen to think is pretty positive, is that we're no longer getting married at a young age because we feel like that's what we need to do. That's sort of the next step of where we need to go in our lives. And here are the small number of people that I can choose from that are viable potential candidates because they're around the same age, or they're single, or they live in my hometown, or whatnot. Now people are realizing that relationships can have a lot more versatility and diversity, and so they're experimenting and exploring with different kinds of relationships, different kinds of sex, and typically having more experiences. And I think that the more experiences, the more relational and relationship experiences you have, the more you become clear about what it is that ultimately would work for you in a long-term partnership, if that is in fact what you're looking for.
So you think it's easier then for people ultimately to find a committed relationship because of the wide variety that they have through the use of dating apps?
Well, it can be, right? I mean, it's, again, it really depends what you're looking for. I think that one nice thing about dating apps is that, in theory anyway, people are, if they're accurately representing themselves, they're sort of putting it out there, what they want, who they are, what they're looking for. So it takes some of the guesswork and some of the mystery or the luck, I guess, out of finding someone that potentially is looking for the same thing that you are. One of the tricky parts with dating apps and with technology and with social media is just that we're getting this really curated version of what people want to show about themselves. So they're highlighting the most flattering parts of who they are, and they're not necessarily painting the whole picture of where they're at and what they're looking for and where they're coming from and who they are completely. And part of that is dating in general, right? We go into dating kind of wanting to represent ourselves the best as we possibly can, and we hope that in the process of getting to know someone, even the messier or less flattering parts of ourselves will end up being tolerable, acceptable, even endearing, because a genuine connection has been made and emotions now are involved. Yeah.
So before I let you go, let me ask you the flip side of that. We talked about being in a committed relationship. Do you or have studies found that online dating has created more avenues for infidelity?
Absolutely. I think that online dating has made dating and exploring and experimenting, it's made it virtually anonymous. It's made it incredibly accessible. And so it's something now that can be done anywhere, anytime, in the privacy of your own home. And so because of that, there is a lot more secrecy involved. And I think a lot of people may use dating apps or other forums, including Instagram and social media, as a way to flirt and sort of scratch the itch of connecting with another person and give themselves that rush, give themselves that feeling, that adrenaline that comes along with that hit of positive reinforcement of, oh, someone likes me, someone's engaging with me, someone's looking at me. And that's really intoxicating. And so people who may start on an app or online thinking that they're going into this situation really casually and feeling like I'm not going to take this seriously, I'm not going to let it go anywhere, may find themselves so drawn in by the chemical feeling that comes along with that reinforcement that they take it much further than they had expected to. Again, the accessibility, the availability is really increasing the likelihood or the possibility of infidelity, just because people are inherently, I would say, fairly opportunistic. And when there's not a lot of opportunity, it's easier to distract ourselves and slow the process down and kind of use that rational or wiser part of our brain that says, hey, do I really want to do this? No, I don't want to do this. This is violating agreements that I have in my relationship. But, you know, we're all imperfect, and it's easy in a weak moment or a vulnerable moment when we're feeling lonely or we're feeling turned on or we're feeling maybe like our partner isn't paying enough attention to us or is disengaged from us to seek out the attention of someone else online.
Really interesting stuff. Alyssa Siegel, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.